Good afternoon and welcome everybody. My name's Judd Hendricks with Interfaith Paths to Peace and the beloved Community Learning Labs. I want to welcome you to the second of a three-part series on how do we support our community's youth and young adults. And we're really excited today to have a fabulous panel of wisdom holders that are doing really great work in this area. So thanks for joining us. We have a great group on Zoom. And for those of you that are joining us on Facebook Live, I want to welcome you. If you are joining on Facebook Live, you will have a chance to ask questions. If you want to put those in the chat box, feel free to do that. And we'll bring in those questions during our conversation. And for those of you that are joining us on Zoom, thanks for being here. There'll also be a chance for you to share and ask questions and join in on the conversation. If you're interested in this series of conversations, you're welcome to go on Interfaith Paths to Peace Facebook page and the Facebook page or our web page, and all of these conversations will be downloaded and recorded there, and you can follow along and share those, which we hope you will do. So welcome again, everyone. Thanks for being here. And I do want to share a little bit about the beloved community. This is a group of multiracial movement of concerned citizens that are coming together to create a more racially just city. One of the ways we do that is through these learning labs. We're trying to look at what we call different action constellation areas, different areas that we need to focus on to create a more racially just city. And last month we focused on violence prevention. And this month we're turning to looking at how do we support our youth and young adults, and looking at the intersectionality of some of those issues along with race issues. I want to thank the beloved community hosting team. Specifically, I want to thank Nikki Thornton, who also has put together this series on supporting youth and young adults. Last week, we interviewed Daryl Young, who is with the Coalition Supporting Youth and Young Adults. If you don't know about that work, I hope you'll check out that video that we did of him last week. And then next week, we actually have a panel of young adults. So we're going to be listening to the voice of young adults talking about issues and dynamics and ways in which we can come along and support them. So I hope you'll come back next week as we interview 6 young adults that fit in kind of this category of what we call opportunity youth. All of these series end with what we call a reckoning forum. And we're really excited about the reckoning forums. These are opportunities for us to hear the stories and the ideas of social innovators, those who are working out of their passion for our community, and they could use our support. So I hope you'll join us at the end of the month on April the 27th, where we will be interviewing 4 of our social innovators: Asa Coleman, Levon Clack, Demarion Fleming, and Stacy Bailey Nadia. I say her name wrong all the time, but Stacy Bailey Nadia Ninja, I think Ninja. I don't say that correctly, and so Stacy for Ninja. Thank you. She always gives me grace when I don't do well with her name. I hope you'll come back on the 27th. That's at 6 o'clock. We have also received an exciting grant to be able to give each of those social innovators a little bit of money to say thanks and support their work they're doing. There'll also be a chance for you, the Louisville community, to provide financial support and other ways you can join in the work that they're doing. So put that on your calendar, April 27th at 6 o'clock for our Reckoning Forum. So let's turn to this week. We've got an exciting group of panelists that work in the area of supporting youth and young adults. We have a few questions that we're going to ask them, and I want to welcome Brooke Price, who's with Taylor Youth Services with 7 counties, Demetria Sueso, who is with Kentucky Youth Career Center, and Jennifer Welch, who is also with the Kentucky Youth Career Center. We also have Joe Hamilton, who's with the Home of the Innocents. Joe seems to be kind of a rock star in this area, at least from what I'm hearing from other people. And Mahogany Mayfield, who is also with the Office of Youth Development. We've actually had Mahogany on our Interfaith Paths to Peace programs as what we call a evolutionary. So Mahogany, we want to welcome you back, who is also with Play Cousins Collective, and Mahogany's just doing some amazing stuff. So a great panel of individuals that are joining us. Thank you all for being on today. And the first question that I have for you all, and I'll go through in that order. Brooke, will have you respond first. The first question is if you could introduce yourself, share a little bit more about the work you do and how you got into that work. I'm always really interested in people's passion for this work because I know none of you get paid that well. So you must be doing this all out of your passion. So talk a little bit about your passion for this work, and then share briefly what's something you're learning about this work. So that's the first question. And Brooke, if you would start us off, that would be great. Brooke, thanks for being on today.
All right, you're welcome. Thank you. My name is Brooke Price. I'm the Assistant Director here at Taylor Youth Service Center. We're an entity of 7 county services. We serve the population of ages 16 to 25. We consider that, of course, transitional aged youth. Tailored, of course, is pretty much your one-stop shop for that age population. We provide case management, mental health services, medication management, housing, all the good stuff, like all the stuff that our youth need here in Jefferson County. Tailored is accessible to all of that. I've been here, I think I just realized I've been here 3 years. I didn't think that I've been at Tailored that long. I actually came from Euspiritus before Tailored. And over there, I was the program manager for the foster care services for a short time. However, prior to that, I worked for the Department of Corrections. I've done probation and parole, kind of dealing more with the adults, but I do believe that the adolescent youth, the young adults, that's my niche. That's where I think I find the most joy. The true passion that I have, of course, behind working with this population is just wanting to always give back. And really all of us here, I know a lot of you have heard multiple times, yes, we don't get paid a lot. So it has to be something else, as to why we do this work. And I feel, just from my personal journey, life wasn't easy always, but I feel that my purpose in this position is to give the young adults a chance that some don't get. So, client care is first, and I really enjoy doing that.
Beautiful. Thanks, Brooke. Can you share briefly something that you're learning about this work?
Yes. I am learning that with transitional age youth, although we as service team members, therapists, case managers, whatever you want to call us, social workers, I find that sometimes we tend to put a cap at what we feel a young adult should be successful as, whether it's obtaining employment, going to college, finishing high school, trying something to advance themselves and better themselves. I find that working with this population, although some young adults come in here and we hook them up with all the services that we get, and they're A1, they're attending their meetings, blah, 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 blah. They're doing everything they're supposed to do. But I do find it out that once they get stabilized, it's often a like, now what? What am I supposed to do? And sometimes I find that just the basic independent living skills, you know, just something basic as budgeting or washing clothes, even effective communication. Some young adults lack that because, you know, there is a push for the services and getting you to the next step. So I find that trying to learn what those steps were before, like what they're lacking, I think that that's important. And most of the time, it's the most minimal things that we would overpass. And so I find that they have their own capacity of what success might mean to them. So does that make sense?
Does make sense. Yeah, thanks.
Okay.
And we may talk about that some more as that come up. Thanks for being on the call and thanks for what you do, Brooke. Good to have you here. Demetria Suezo, can you unmute yourself and share?
Hello, my name is Demetria Suazo. I am with the Kentucky Youth Career Center, and I am the program manager for the Reimage program. Reimage is a reentry program for 16 to 24-year-olds who are currently or have been involved in the justice system, the court system. Some of the services that we offer at KYCC/Reimage is we do have case management. Every participant that is enrolled will receive a case manager. We have court support. We have programs and activities that work towards getting you in a good, stable, I guess, situation for employment and or training. We do assist with supporting industry recognized trainings for those individuals that are trying to get in a higher wage position, a higher paying position. Jennifer talked more about it, but we offer Internship Academy for those participants that fall up under the KYCC umbrella. I'm not sure if I mentioned work readiness training, you know, entry level workforce classes, resume writing falls up underneath there, a small bit of financial literacy. It's just really any program or service that we can provide that would help with you receiving employment and or training. Another big piece of the program is we do offer legal aid assistance. So those participants that are in our program, as I mentioned, they do have to be court involved. They have the opportunity of getting some legal aid advice on some of the situations that they may have going on. I would say I started this work, for some of you that may know, is the YO grant. I would say there was a grant that was back in the 2000s. So I've been doing it for a while. There was some other employments in between, because as you all know, when you're working for grant funded programs, most of those grants at some point do sunset. And then you'll get another grant opportunity in the city and you start working for that. So after that, I ended up working for the Kentucky Youth Career Center as a case manager, did that for a few years. Sunsetted another grant, and now here I am back as a program manager for the Reimage program. Once again, without going into any details, I came in with 2 Department of Labor grants that at some point sunsetted, and we were able to get funding. Kentucky Animal Works was able to receive some additional funding where we're able to still have Reimage funded under Metro dollars. So we're able still to provide some services for the different communities within inside of Jefferson County. I would say something, I know you asked, what is it, something that you're learning? One thing is our participants are always open to learn and to absorb, no matter what their decisions are or what decisions they have made to get them to where they're at. But I would like to say one thing I would like other people to know that's not in the youth industry is our participants are not who the decisions that they have made, good or bad, doesn't determine who they are. And I would like for just those in the community and those working with these young adults not to stereotype participants and young adults that we work with because of the good or bad decisions or decisions that you may not have have done if you were in their shoes, it still doesn't determine who they are as a person. So just giving everyone an opportunity as they come through the doors as a young adult, and just try to remove barriers as you're working with them. And don't put the labels on them just coming through the doors.
Thanks, Demetra. I appreciate that, and have some questions, but we'll come back to you on some of that. Thanks for being on today and for your passion. And Jennifer, if you could unmute yourself, and we've already heard a little bit about youth career services, but how did you get into this work, and what's the work that you do?
Yeah. So my name is Jennifer Welch, and I'm the coordinator of the Kentucky Youth Career Center. And Reimage is one of the programs that we have under our roof. So thank you, Demetra, she took some of that from me, so I can save my breath on some of that. But some of the other things, I'm not sure if she mentioned, we do have a GED program in-house. So for those young people who have decided to withdraw from traditional K-12 schooling, they can start their GED when they're 18. We offer a ton of supportive services for people who are enrolled in our programming. So it could be assistance with employment-related needs, educational-related needs, transportation, all of those things that are sort of these things that kind of take your money, that we can help out with, that you might be able to take your money and spend it a little bit better. But needs that one has to have to be successful in employment or education. We offer incentives for participants to complete goals. So we structure everything around the goals of the program and the goals of the youth. And as they work to achieve those goals, we offer them incentives. It's just one thing to kind of help keep them motivated along the way. We always have linkages to external resources. So many partners that are on here and of course, other community partners who are not on the call. Our case management staff does a great job of linking youth to those resources as well. And then our internship program, we have a paid internship program for young people 18 to 24 who have already achieved their diploma or GED. It's a 10-week paid internship program. Shout out to Carly, who used to be our trainer for that program. She's on the call. So that's just a really great program where we pair, we have a trainer on site that gives them a bunch of leadership and professional development training. And then we pair that with a placement at a job site in the community in their area of interest. So, and Carol's here too. Hey, Carol. She was a trainer for us as well. Sorry. So we love that program. So we're always happy to enter new youth into that. We do it in a cohort. So they've got that peer-to-peer support along with the staff and the trainer and the support of their job site as well. So for me, the question was, how did I get into this work? So a long time ago, probably 20 years or so, like Demetra said, I started out doing job coaching and supported employment with adults and transition age youth with disabilities. And through that, I really started having kind of a passion and I just kind of started veering more towards that transition age youth population, which drew me into programming for homeless youth and now the opportunity youth population has just kind of flowed over the years. And like Demetra said, with grant work, you're kind of in and out of different things. And I've always, especially over the past probably about 12 or 13 years, leaned more towards the youth population. So that's a little bit about me. And then briefly what I'm learning that there's always more to learn and we will never, probably ever know it all. And the youth really are the experts, like Demetra said. I think a lot of people do sell them short, and it's just always learning all of the amazing things that they have to offer. And they get overlooked a lot, and they really do have a lot to offer. And if we just ask them and talk to them, they're going to really tell us a lot. And we're not really here to necessarily fix things, but we should work alongside them and listen to them and work with them to make it a better place for them. And their input's really important. So I'm always just kind of learning, things that they have to say, just not to sell them short. It's real important.
Yeah. Thank you, Jennifer. And I want to ask at this point, if everybody would, if you're willing to put your contact information into the chat box, your name and contact, you can just post and paste that in there. One of the purposes of this call is for you all to connect with each other. So if you hear something or think, wow, we could collaborate somewhere, you'll have all of that information in the chat box. So put that in, and that'll allow us to stay in touch with each other. And Joe, thank you for being on. And I got your message there, Joe. We need to get you done so you can go do more important work, which means getting your daughter. So
Right.
thanks for being on, Joe. If you could introduce yourself and share what you're learning.
Yeah, and I have to apologize. I'm so sorry, guys. I've got this hard out at 3:35. Dad duty calls today. So yeah, so I'm Joe Hamilton. I'm Vice President of Prevention and Pathways Home at Home of the Innocents. So we basically, we're all the grant funded programs at the home, and we serve young adults, so 18 to 24-year-old. And everybody that we serve comes in as meeting the HUD definition of homeless. So we use 3 or 4 different HUD grants to provide rapid rehousing in the community for formerly homeless young adults. So we've got 85 or 90 households in housing currently. They're in apartments throughout Jefferson County. We do wraparound case management services. We have an employment specialist on our team. And we do a lot of life skills. We do a lot of we do cooking class. We've had a driver's ed class. We do support groups for young mothers with toddlers and kids, children of their own. So, and a lot of our young adults have started to have children as well. So we serve the whole family. Let's see, I've been doing this work about 16, 17 years. I started out right after my master's. I did affordable housing policy work in grad school, and I got hired by the city to run and administer some of the HUD grants that Louisville Metro oversees. So I've literally been working with the homeless for about 17 years. When I was at Metro, I ran all the permanent supportive housing programs for about 10 years. Then I did go to Frankfurt for 2. I was deputy commissioner at DCBS for 2 years. That was a wild experience. And now I'm back to working in my wheelhouse, which is serving the homeless. So yeah, that's a little bit about how I got into it. You know, I think some of the lessons learned or some of the learning that I'm still doing is, and I'm going to sound really old, but some of the communication styles that our young adults prefer, like, you know, social media platforms like TikTok. I do not have a TikTok page, but I need one, because a lot of as we're doing outreach and trying to build rapport with a homeless young adult, we need to communicate on their level. And you know, social media, whatever it takes to build that rapport and, you know, convince one of our referrals to come in for housing is, you know, you got to do whatever it takes. And that means learning new social media and new communication styles. So I think that's my big growth area.
Well, Joe, you and I can start our TikTok together. I did a TikTok, and my daughter called me up right after I posted it, and she said, "Never ever do that again." So I got banned by my daughter from TikTok. But
it's brutal out there, Joe.
I know but we have to do what we have to do to be relevant. So, Joe, thanks for being on, and appreciate all the work.
Yeah, and I'm so sorry again for having to hop off early, but I'll catch you guys next time.
All good, thank you. Mahogany, welcome back, and thank you for being on. Share a little bit about the work that you're doing.
Hi, Judd. Thanks for having me. Hello, everyone. I'm Mahogany Mayfield. I'm the Youth Services Coordinator for the Office of Youth Development. At the Office of Youth Development, we are serving youth ages 10 to 24 years old. We have a lot of really exciting things in the works right now. We're actually going through some rebranding, so looking at social justice youth development, using asset framing, seeing young people as, you know, powerful and needed in our community, and not as folks that, you know, need us, but we need them as well. We have a data center that we are working on. I'm currently overseeing our network for youth development and community building that I'll tell you more about this afternoon. We have the external agency funds. And actually working with Metro government is rather new for me. I come from direct services. So in the past, I have taught GED classes, but my true passion is providing safe spaces for young people. So targeted programming, looking at identity and just, you know, what their interests are. And I'm still able to do some of that work with Play Cousins Collective. So I enjoyed that. And something that I am learning while doing this work, especially from away from direct services and working with the Office of Youth Development, is seeing that a lot of this competition amongst organizations is really a myth. It's because there are limited resources, but not because we actually want to compete with one another. So all of us as youth providers have really good intentions and really work better together. And that's what we're working on with our network. So I'm excited to tell you all more about that.
Great. Thanks, Mahogany. Thanks for the work you're doing. So one of the first questions I have, and we can just kind of popcorn here. We don't have to go in order. Anybody that really feels passionate about the question. One of the things that we're trying to discern, or what are some of the systemic issues that you all are facing, that you bump up against in this work that we need to collectively focus on? Anybody, have any thoughts or ideas around the systemic issues that need to be focused on? And Joe, if you've got one before you head out, I'd be interested in your thoughts.
Yeah, I can chime in a little bit. You know, one of the interesting things is the disparate numbers of of the homeless, right? So young adults homelessness, we're seeing like over 50% African American clientele. And if you look at our population, our demographics of Jefferson County, that's a much higher rate of homelessness in young adults. So that's one thing I see every day is the high rate of minority in the homeless population.
And Joe, can you follow up with what are the things that are working in that area? Are there any like success stories or places, if we want to continue to put energy, that are being helpful there?
Yeah, I mean, I think, we're a big proponent of housing first. That's a low barrier approach to getting into the program and getting housed. And then once you get housed, you can build services around that. So, I think we have a whole bunch of success stories where folks come in as really high vulnerability, high acuity, oftentimes co-occurring mental illness and substance abuse. And we're able to get them leased up in an apartment, and we start working on goals and a case plan. And we've had just a whole lot of success at not only maintaining the housing, but also gaining employment. And partners like, Demetra and Jennifer are great partners of ours. We're able to make referrals. And we have an employment specialist too, that's really her whole focus is that employment aspect. But we have a lot of success. I mean, folks come in like chronically homeless, like I said, battling mental illness, having substance abuse issues, and that housing really seems to stabilize and become the sort of the cornerstone for building stability in other areas of their lives.
Good, thanks, Joe.
If I could, I would like to piggyback on what Joe was saying. That was the same one that I had put down that I was thinking was housing and not having adequate shelters for this age population. I know we are considered a passionate city, but we are struggling with, from my view, on how to handle the homeless population, especially with the young adults in Jefferson County Public Schools, as well as those who have dropped out of school. I think the city has come a long way. We received a large amount of money within the last 3 years to be able to give housing opportunities, as Joe was mentioning, through several agencies, Coalition for the Homeless, Youth Build, as well as KYCC, and those organizations been able to assign these homeless participants with a case manager who's able to mentor, encourage, motivate, and help remove barriers as they're also having to deal with being homeless, some having to go to school, some trying to work on their GED. So I think the city has come a very long way with trying to support this population. But it's still, we have a long way to go, I would say.
Yeah, good, thank you. That's important to note. How about any other folks want to jump in around systemic issues that need to be addressed that we'd like our community to
share.
focus on? Thanks, Mahogany.
I think one of the biggest issues is obviously systemic racism and just the way it's plagued our communities. I think that, a lot of us are doing good work, but when you look at, years and years of systemic racial oppression that goes unaddressed, then, we're able to provide these Band-Aids, but not actually able to address those root causes. And I think that one issue that I've seen, I've ran around like doing a lot of youth work with a lot of different organizations, and something that I've seen is that a lot of us are working in silos. And I think that hinders our young people, because if you see a young person, doesn't complete this program, you blame it on that young person and they're not quite ready or they're immature. But a lot of times there become interpersonal relationships or issues that hinder our young people from thriving in certain organizations, or just, there's things that they have going on. And so if they're not aware of the wealth of resources that are available, and they, things don't work out with one organization, then they miss out on all the other options that may have been a better fit for them. I think that one thing is just deficit framing, so when we're in these meetings and we're talking about these reports, and it often perpetuates, racism. Actually, when we see these high numbers, and then if young people are in the space, like, what does that do to you? How does that make you feel when you see that people that look like you are often, in the red zone, depending on whatever the data is, right? Or whatever is being recorded, if you see that it's always you and your people who are continuously, not doing well. So I think that just oftentimes we're able to provide those resources, but we don't go as deep in looking in identity and making sure that, we're just addressing them at the human level beyond, educational services or housing services. Like, all of those things are important. But if you don't have a sense of identity or, a sense of life skills or a sense of family, then you can't really thrive, even if you have, all of the resources that we're giving. So those are some of the issues that I've seen take place in our city.
Beautiful. Thank you. Well, and that's, again, one of the reasons why the Beloved community is focused on this, is because of those identity issues and the intersectionality. And actually, Rosie, I want to bring you in, if you don't mind introducing yourself. Rosie just started with the Louisville Youth Group. And so, speaking about the intersectionality of identities, Rosie, could you introduce yourself and share a little bit about Louisville Youth Group? Thanks for being on.
Yeah, definitely. Thank you for having me. I'm Rosie Green. I'm the Director of Development for Louisville Youth Group. I use she, her, hers pronouns. And what the Louisville Youth Group does is we provide a brave space for LGBTQ+ youth to be themselves. It's our primary goal. And the way that we do that is we provide a number of services. Everything from Wednesday night and Friday night programming to our trans closet, which provides gender affirming clothing, to our trans, non-binary, and gender non-conforming friends. And we're starting to look at some of these issues of intersectionality as well, and start to understand that, historically our organization has been very white and has served primarily the white queer population. And so one of our major goals that we're looking at, even in terms of a strategic plan for our organization, is how do we address not just the queerness of our youth, but the whole person, which means that if we have folks of other marginalized and identities that are intersecting with their queerness, how do we address those, and are we addressing those as an organization, and what are the gaps that we are, able to fill with that? And one of the things that we've started to look at is building community partnerships with other organizations that are serving youth, and letting them know that, we're here for the queer youth. And so we can build community partnerships and sort of share the responsibility for the youth and providing spaces for them.
Great. Thank you, Rosie. Thanks for the work you all are doing. That's important.
Thank you.
So we got several other people on the call as well, a lot of wisdom here. So really this question, again, I want to go back to systemic issues. If you were to tell our community, there's a lot of people that are concerned about youth and young adults, right? But they probably have another passion, or they have something else they're really invested in. So if you were to tell them, you know, this is a place we really need to point our energy, our advocacy, our voting, what would you say as far as a systemic issue that you would want to get our whole city behind? So anybody can jump in. What else? What other wisdom do we have? Yeah, Brooke.
I would say the lack of, maybe the word I'm looking for is networking amongst, you know, community resources, just because, for the simple fact, you know, we're doing the work, we're here. I mean, you know, Louisville has a huge population of homeless young adults, and I'm sure that all of us across this panel, we've probably come across the same clients at one point in time. But I think as a community, you know, I wish there was a platform that got us as far as like our agencies and our services that we provide, that it's more so not just a word of mouth, but we're there, and, you know, we're upfront, because there is a lot of things that are offered to our young adults, but there still are a lot of families that don't know any of us exist. And even for me, you know, some of you that have mentioned, you know, your agencies and what services you provide, I'm familiar with some, but even right here in the heart of the city, like, you know, I don't even know if there's a resource right across the street that I could, you know, assist somebody with. So I think just opening that platform of a broader network so that we can all, you know, be resourceful amongst each other.
Great. Thank you, Brooke. What else? As far as systemic issues, and those of you that are joining, feel free to introduce yourself as well. Jennifer,
I'll say,
yeah, go ahead. Thank you.
Hey, I agree with everything everybody's already said, so I don't really have a whole lot to add there, but I think you see a lot of, there's a lot of resources in the city, a lot of things that overlap quite a bit, and a lot of things, just a lot of resources, and they're all more of these, I don't want to say Band-Aid, but they do address issues in the moment. But like Mahogany talked about, Demetra, Brooke, everybody's talked about it, until we really start to talk about and address some of those more deeper embedded, meaning generational racism and poverty and identity issues around that. The other stuff is just going to continue to flow. Programs will come and go. Programs will expand, retreat. They will do all of those things, and workers will come and go, and we'll all see the same youth repeated at all these programs, and we'll all do the same interventions, and we'll do all of that. But unless you really address that other stuff, those other things aren't going to, I mean, they help. Having the support services, having the case management, all of that helps, obviously. But, you know, that other stuff, that deeper dive is what's really needed. And you know, if there was a way to build that within the community and get the community at large to understand that piece and to educate the community on that level, I think that's when you would be able to really see some greater change.
And even to add to that, when you're speaking on that deeper dive, the mental health piece, it's so expensive. A lot of our programs can't support the mental health because it would eat up so much of our budget. So what we do is we put a little Neosporin on it, we put a Band-Aid on it, and it helps you get from A to B, but then you're back to A, and sometimes you're 2 steps further away from where you started, because we're putting the Band-Aids and we're really not being able to address some of the issues, which can not just be yourself. It could be a lot of our programs, our grants don't allow us to work with families. And if you're working with young adults between the ages of I would say 13 to 17-year-olds, most of the time it's the guardian that could be the one that's needing some of that deeper dive assistance, but our grants don't allow us to work with families. So it's really getting those programs to let you do that whole wraparound, as we like to say. I would say an entire wraparound, meaning embracing the family. Everyone that's in that house is going to have an impact on the success of that individual that you're trying to work on. I think that's what we need, more programs. I think that's more of that deeper dive, including that mental health. And that means serving them, the parents, the siblings, whatever that may look like.
Yeah, thank you. Anybody else have a comment there? I do want to move to the question, and so you can comment on either of these questions, but I also really believe in an appreciative inquiry process. So, what's working that we can build on. So if you have something that you really think is really doing good work or that's being effective, let's share some of those ideas as well. So if anybody wants to jump in, please do with that question as well.
I think anytime you're able to provide those who don't work in that youth field and work with this population, they see it as a bribe. When you're in school, they always say, don't get a kid a token, don't give them a treat or give them something. They're supposed to act this way. Yeah, we're supposed to work, but I want a paycheck at the end of it because it motivates me to come back the next day. And I say that to say, giving these participants or young adults incentives, or as Jennifer likes to call them, carrots, to motivate and to encourage them to continue to do what is expected, but at the same time, they have different barriers that's preventing them to continue to that next step. For KYCC, I would like to say that works, being able to give them an incentive for getting their GED, giving them an incentive for completing a training or a workshop or getting their high school diploma. Yeah, that's what's expected of us, but until you're in their shoes and knowing how hard it is to get from one grade level to the next, knowing there's something at the end or something that you can get right now that's tangible, because you get an incentive, it's a dollar amount or a Kroger card, you're able to get food or you're able to pay your cell phone bill or you're able to help a family member, a parent with something. So I would like to say just having some type of incentive is what's working. One piece of the program that's working for KYCC, I would like to say.
Good, thank you. What else is working, or what are the other systemic issues? Anybody want to jump in there?
I'll say something that's working, and it kind of piggybacks off of what I mentioned earlier. We do have a ton of programs in Louisville, and there is always going to be something to address an immediate need, and usually more than one thing. So, in an instance, I rarely hear of a time when a case manager or a partner reaches out or just whatever it is, and people don't gather together in that moment to locate resources. And it's more than locating. They're going to, take the effort to connect people directly to someone that can assist right away. So whatever it is, you're always going to be able to find an immediate resource for something.
Good, and that's probably why it's helpful for you all to know each other as well. If it's a service that you may not provide or be an expert in, you can resource young people. There's some other folks on the call that are joining. Would be happy for you all to join in. And if you all have questions for each other or a dynamic or issue that you would like to talk about, please bring it into the conversation. At this point, it's kind of a free for all. What needs to be heard and what needs to be said. Rosie?
Piggyback off of some of the things that have been said so far, making our spaces as accessible as possible to as many people as possible. And so we always make sure that we have food and clothes and everything that somebody might need when they show up to our space. One of the things that we're working on is getting a new space actually to be ADA compliant as well, so that folks with disabilities don't feel like they have a difficult time navigating our space. And then another thing that works for us, we talk a lot with our youth about advocacy and activism, teach them how to advocate for themselves and navigate, whatever systems they're going to come across that are going to make life difficult for them. We teach them how to navigate those. So one of the things that we do to sort of lead by example is that we do have outreach opportunities where we will go into other organizations or other spaces and do trainings on how to support queer youth. And so if anybody is looking to partner with us, we would love to partner with you on that. I popped my contact information in the chat. But that's something that's really worked, is to try to make sure that our community is also as accessible for our youth as possible.
Good. Thank you, Rosie.
And I also think what's working with the Kentucky Youth Career Center is we do have a partnership with Dare to Care that allow us to have a food pantry on site for immediate snacks if you're there doing a workshop or a program. But we do also give the participants an opportunity to take 2 bags of groceries with them. I think it's per day. So they, or maybe a week, they can come up there and get whatever they can fit into 2 bags of items that have been donated to the pantry from Dare to Care. And that seems to really work. And it's that warm and fuzzy feel good, because you know you can't save them all, but there are some participants right now eating because of Dare to Care.
Thank you. Yeah, Brooke, please.
I just wanted to add to what I thought was working. I think peer-to-peer engagement, I've seen, you know, a lot of that here within Tailored. And a couple of years ago, I created the TAC group, and that's an acronym for Tailored Youth Advisory Council. So some of the youth that show, you know, leadership abilities and qualities, we put them in this group so that, you know, they can be leaders here at the center, because at the end of the day, this is their center. We want them, you know, to have a voice. And so when you put them in those positions, I feel like there is more engagement as far as communication. They're holding one another accountable. They're talking amongst each other, and, you know, they're supporting each other. So I do feel that that often, you know, ends in motivation, like, well, such and such has been going here or there or Tailored or wherever, and this seems to be working for them. How about I give that a try too? So I do think that peer-to-peer engagement, I think that is working.
Good, thank you. Mahogany, you may be able to answer this question. One of the things I was hearing coming out of Metro government is that they're using a social justice lens for training young people. Can you share a little bit more? I know just enough to be dangerous to comment on it. So can you talk a little bit more about what that lens is and what's going on in that area?
Yes, so social justice youth development is youth development with the social justice lens. And so what I mean by that is looking at young people as whole, looking at them as resources to our community, really taking a transformational approach more so than a transactional approach. So we've often talked about this Band-Aid approach that we often take, and that's due to the resources that we have at hand, but really diving deeper and looking at how we can work, you know, across sectors. And so that's something that we're doing with our Network for Youth Development and Community Building. We have 3 granted partners, but we're making sure that as we create this directory in our one-stop shop, we want anyone that serves young people ages 10 to 24 to be a part of our directory. So really trying to reduce this competitive lens and get out of, you know, working in our silos, but really coming together. We're utilizing Unite Us as our platform. And we have, actually, I can put our website in the site or in the chat. And starting Monday, we're going to start off with a soft launch, but then we'll do like a big press release with all the ribbons and bows. But we want to make sure that everyone is aware of the network so that, you know, like I mentioned earlier, some young people don't want to complete a 9-month program or even a 3-week program. Some people just want to go in and they may have 1 credit, right? Or they may be ready for the GED test and they just want to take that test, or they just may want to, you know, get some access to groceries. And so we're trying to make sure that we're, you know, really ensuring youth autonomy. And that's what social justice youth development is all about. And with that, we're building capacity amongst youth serving organizations as well. And so with social justice youth development, just seeing our young people for who they are, seeing them as assets, regardless of, as Demetra pointed out earlier in the call, right? Like not viewing them for the decisions that they've made, whether they've done a whole 180 or we're proud of them, or they've made some mistakes, minimizing all, or not necessarily minimizing that, but not seeing that as who they are, but allowing them to define who they are and really amplifying their voices. And just knowing that while we are the providers, we may think we know what's best, but actually listening to them and allowing them to, you know, determine, you know, what's best for them. And so that's what social justice youth development is all about, just really steering the young person and allowing them to, you know, drive their own car, right? We can give them gas and all of that, but at the end of the day, we want them behind the wheel.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you for the framing of that. How about other questions that you all have for each other, or a question you would like to pose to the group that that you're bringing to the conversation? We've got about 5 or 6 more minutes. We'll love for this to be able to meet your needs as well. Anybody that we haven't heard from want to jump in? Please, Tiffany.
Hey, I just really wanted to introduce myself. I'm Tiffany Fabing, the Program Director at Jewish Heritage Fund for Excellence. We are a local grant-making organization, and we're currently focused on adolescent health and wellness, and kind of define adolescents pretty broadly: middle school students, high school students, young adults. So I know a lot of your organizations, but I haven't actually had the opportunity to meet many of you who are actually doing the work. And so I just wanted to encourage you to please reach out. This has been so interesting to me. I'd love to hear more from you. We're early in this work, so definitely learning. And thank you all for taking the time to join. And just also I'll put this in the chat, but we're partnering with Kentucky Youth Advocates on a summit to try to bring community partners together to address potential solutions for gaps in mental and behavioral health services for youth. So Demetra, when you mentioned the high cost of providing mental health services and how that's difficult, I just would love to see any of you there at the summit. I think you have a lot to add. So thank you all.
Great, Tiffany, thank you. Thanks for being on. That's the exact reason for these kind of calls, to bring those kind of resources together. Thank you. Anybody else want to jump in that hasn't been? Greg, I'm going to call you out. I don't know if you mind. You've been so attentive, and yeah, you mind introducing yourself? And
yeah, so I work with Tiffany at JHFE. I'm the grant manager, and I help provide her some support, I guess, around programming. This is our 3rd year in that space, so I'm here to listen mostly and learn from all your great expertise and knowledge. And I've been with JHFE for about 3 years, or be 3 years in June. And then I was worked with Virginia Judd and the Humana Foundation for about 7 years also. So part of our funding during that time was for children and family wellness. So been in this space for a bit, but still I have so much to learn. So I appreciate you and your time today to help someone like me out.
Great. Thanks, Greg. Thanks for joining in. How about, is there anyone else that's on the call that would like to join in or have a question? So I want to give Jessica.
Hey.
Yeah, welcome.
Yeah, I just want to say I'm excited about the Louisville Youth Network. I think maybe I've met Mahogany before, I'm not sure. I'm the program manager with the Natural Areas Division of Louisville Metro Parks. And we have our Louisville ECHO program, which is cradle to career equitable access to nature. So we have like 4 different components. We start at age 3 with nature programming. We work with schools and provide out of school time services. And then we also hire youth through the Summer Works program. So really just trying to build those cradle to career pathways for youth that are interested in outdoor activities. But one of our biggest challenges, I mean, we've been around for, we've been doing ECHO programming with partner JCPS schools for 12 plus years. And there are a lot of people in the community that don't know that Louisville ECHO exists. So I'm really excited, for there to be sort of this network of all of these services that everyone is providing in the community. I think it's going to be really fantastic.
Great, Jessica.
And
thanks.
thank you all for pulling that all together.
Yeah, thank you. Thanks for being on. So I want to give each of our panelists, I'm going to give you 15 seconds to share what's been insightful to you about this conversation, or what are you taking from this conversation, or what do you want to echo? You get kind of, 15 seconds to, this is what I'm taking from this. This is what feels important. This is what you want to echo. So let's go in the same order that we started in. We'll go Brooke, and then Demetria, and then Jennifer and Mahogany. So Brooke, can you check out?
Yeah, sure. I just want to say, I think that this was very helpful. And, it brought awareness to myself as far as what other resources are, within our community. And so being that our one common goal is to make these young adults, or help these young adults become independent and successful as possible, I really appreciate a platform such as this, so that I can network with you all.
Great, thank you. Demetria, can you check out?
I don't want to take what Brooke said, but that was very similar to what she was saying. This is just, we all know there's a lot of resources out there for young adults. We've been in different meetings together, and there's always one or two that's never heard of your organization, no matter how long that organization has been around in the city. But this also just lets you know that the city needs something to allow all of these organizations to come to either one platform, or someone needs to put a resource book together, digitally, that can be changed as staff changes and program updates, just so we don't duplicate services or recreate the wheel, and we can really reach out and partner with different agencies to the fullest. I think we're all doing it now, but like Brooke said, and some of the other ones, they've never heard of Reimage or didn't know to the capacity of what KYCC services were. And I think we all know that, but this just really confirms that this type of platform is needed.
Great, thank you. Thank you for the work that you're doing. And Jennifer, can you check out?
Yeah, probably I just take, it just recharges my batteries a little bit to see the passion. And I know we're all out here doing the same work, and it's hard work, but it's important work. And just to hear what everybody has to say, and just to know how much the passion is out there, and everybody out there really working hard for the youth, no matter what their role is, because there's so many of us in the city doing so much, so many different things and different roles and everything. So it kind of recharges my batteries a little bit to hear everybody's good, positive conversation. So thank you all for participating, and thank you.
Thank you. And Mahogany, check out.
She actually did check out her computer.
Oh
She
yeah,
wrote a note.
her computer's out.
Yeah.
Okay, that's right. Yeah, thank you. So yes, I just on behalf of Interfaith Paths of Peace, behalf of the beloved community, I do want to just kind of rain down love and thanks and grace and blessings on you all, because I know it does come because you care deeply about our community and our young adults. And so on behalf of Louisville, thank you. Thank you for your work. Thank you for your passion. And we are with you, behind you, and supporting you in the ways that we can. So I hope you know that and feel that, and a deep bow and blessing to you in that work. Also,
and I would say big kudos even more during this time, because it's been one heck of a year.
Right. And so grace to everybody. It has been a year.
Work, I think we have the hardest work in the city is when you're working with this population at risk, whatever you want to call that age group. It's already hard and draining, but imagine doing it virtually through a pandemic and everything else that's been going on in your city alone. So big kudos for this year. And it has been a year. It's over a year now.
Right. Yeah. I do want to encourage you all to come back. One of the spaces that we, beloved community, is becoming aware that there needs to be is connection between social entrepreneurs, those people that are kind of startups or, not part of, sometimes even don't have a nonprofit status, but they're really doing good work in our institutions that have resources, that have infrastructure. So the Beloved Community Reckoning Forum really tries to highlight a lot of those organizations. So on April the 26th, 27th at 6 o'clock, I hope you'll come and support 4 innovators that are doing great stuff in this space. And let's see if we can also bridge institutional organizations and startups. It feels like that's a space that really could support one another with wisdom and resources. Once again, thank you all. Deep bow to you all. Keep doing the good work you're doing, and thanks for being on today. Peace.
Thanks for the invite.
Good to see you. Thank you.
Thank you.